So yeah, hey guys, my name's Shant, and this is another Melodies for Days interview. We have MJ apanay. For people who obviously who don't know MJ yet, do you want to maybe introduce yourself a bit?
For sure. Hi, my name is MJ apanay. I'm an independent artist from Los Angeles, and yeah, I make music, and it's on Spotify and other
Dude, you make
places.
some dope ass music. So I
Thank you.
know, like, obviously, I know a bit about you just because, like, we both know Yuki. But
Yeah,
so
right.
can you kind
Yeah.
of talk about like what it's been like growing up in LA and stuff, and has that like really affected like your interest in music and stuff?
Um. All right. So honestly, I think with LA, I know there's a really big music background, but there's also a really big like there's Hollywood, right? And so honestly, probably one of the first things I ever wanted to be was an actor actually growing up. And it wasn't really until around last July, like 2019 July, that I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually try music, which is
Yeah,
when like around the time I released my first EP. And at that point, like I was pretty new to music other than like casual covers that I would post on SoundCloud, which I've been posting since around 2017 maybe.
got you.
But yeah, other than that, I don't really have any music background. The only instrument I ever learned was a guitar, and I tried taking piano lessons, and it failed miserably after like 3 weeks. Um, but yeah, honestly, in terms of music, being in Los Angeles, growing up in Los Angeles didn't really have an effect on that at all. I didn't really have that many music friends. I didn't really have many connections in the music industry or any I had any connections in general. But yeah, I think for music it was just something I decided to do on my own. If anything, if there was any kind of influence on me, it was definitely uh just like my friends around me saying that I had like talent or I had like a voice. And so I guess, yeah, I guess it's because of my friends that I started to do music, if anything. So, yeah.
Damn. So what was that support like? So you said like your friends were kind of the ones that like pushed you. Like you think without them you
Yeah.
wouldn't be in music right now, or
Honestly, no, I don't think so. I never thought that I had like a good voice, or I never thought that I was that great at songwriting either. But um to tell you the truth, like it all started last like August, and it was like summer break for us. And Yuki was just like, "Hey, dude, you should just like try releasing an EP for fun." And I was like, "All right, sure," and sure, whatever. Like, I honestly, I didn't really treat it as that big of a deal, but yeah, I just for the first time ever, I tried producing like an EP, like in a month. I didn't know what I was doing at all because I never really produced anything. The only kind of production I did was like simple covers, like I said, for like SoundCloud, and
yeah,
that didn't have anything. It was just like guitar, voice. But I started learning how to like produce, like mix and master, and maybe you don't know what that means, but like it's basically like engineering. I had to learn how to like engineer music, and it was so fun. It was so fun, and the biggest part of it though was just the reactions that I got from everyone, and those people loved it. And so I just decided maybe I do have like something, and maybe I should try pursuing it. So yeah.
yeah. No, like I spent like past couple weeks like listening to your music, and I really loved it. And I
Oh,
noticed
dude.
like, no, dude, wait, no, first of all, like I think
Yeah.
like I first heard it like I think Yuki was just playing it, like we were just all hanging out,
Mm.
and I was like, oh, who is this? And he was like, oh, it's my friend MJ. And I was just like, oh shit, your friend? Like
Oh
he's the one
shit.
that made this song. And then
Oh shit.
obviously, like when we decided to do this interview, I was just like,
Mm.
checking your music out more. And it's funny how you talk about like producing because I feel like recent like one of your songs I think Text Me
Uh
I think it's your more recent work like
yeah, pretty recent.
like
Yeah.
I feel like it's more like I'm not sure what like the terms and stuff, but it feels more produced. But like your
Uh-huh.
other main songs like Time Machine, it feels
Mhm.
more acoustic. Like
Yeah,
you feel
exactly.
like
Yeah.
there's like you're transitioning more into like producing more than just simple guitar
Mhm.
piano type back.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really trying because yeah, because like with the first EP, right? Like which was like where Time Machine was from. I was still learning how to like use back then I was using GarageBand, which is like a free app that comes with like most Mac computers.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know like what to do, you know? But after I started working on my first album, which I released in February, I think, of 2020, um, through that I started learning how to like actually like make beats, like make weird sounds, like
Yeah.
through the new software, which is Logic. Um, and yeah, I just tried learning how to make music that's actually like that strays away from just like acoustics elements, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, that's where like Text Me was like one of the most experimental songs I ever made. But I think it turned out pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although I still have like my gripes about it. I really did like how it turned out. Though I didn't think that many people would like it. To be
To be
honest.
fair, like I think that's my favorite song.
Really?
Out of your discography.
That's cool. All right,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I like Text Me, but that's just
Interesting.
my opinion. Obviously, I'll post it
For
on the
sure.
blog later for you guys to listen to it. But
Oh God.
yeah,
All right, for sure.
so like I guess part of this is also like a way for like people who are trying to get into music to learn from like people like you and others
Mm,
I've interviewed. So I guess like what's some advice you would give to people who are starting to try producing? Like you said, you use GarageBand and like now
mm.
Logic. Like it can be any general advice if you have any.
Yeah. So when you're starting out, I think unless you like you're taking classes or anything, like YouTube is gonna be like your best friend for everything, you know. And there's so much information on there that it could be super confusing because sometimes people are saying different things, you know. Sometimes like you're just bombarded with so much information that you won't even understand. But I think a better approach to it, and you know, Yuki's been doing this too recently, like is to just like get on the software and then just play with it for like hours. Like honestly, like you're gonna learn so much from just that. And in the process of like trying to like figure out things like in the software, you're also gonna be like wondering about like certain things that you want to do. And then that's when you go to YouTube and search for exactly what you're trying to do, like on Logic. Instead of just going on YouTube and be like how to produce music. Like there's just too much information for that. So
Yeah,
what you really need to do is like play with it and ask yourself what are you really trying to learn, and like don't try to learn everything at once, just like take it one step at a time and learn one thing at a time that you're trying to learn. And I think you'll make a lot more progress that way than just like trying to like what I did. Literally, I just watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I took a bunch of notes, and I at the time I thought, oh wow, this is great. I got so many notes. I'm gonna be the best producer ever. But then after I went through like a 3 week training arc of just watching YouTube videos, and I had this like book of notes. I went to producing, and I was like, oh man, now I have to read these notes. Now I have to go through these notes and figure out what I'm supposed to do.
yeah,
Like it was just not efficient at all. And although like I did learn a lot, it's just it just wasn't the best way. And I just wish I did it more like how Yuki did it, honestly.
got you.
So
And in terms of like a first software to use, like can
mhm.
people just jump straight into like Logic or should they kind of experiment with GarageBand?
I think what I've heard at least is that there's a lot you can do on GarageBand that like basically if you learn GarageBand to its fullest, you can make songs that other people can make on Logic. It's just more like I think Logic has a lot of features that like are recommended and like a lot of visuals too. And it just comes with a lot of software that GarageBand doesn't have. And so that's why people tend to like go towards it. The thing with like Logic and GarageBand though is that like there's Logic and GarageBand, but there's also a lot of other softwares like for producers, right? There's like FL Studio, Ableton, Pro Tools even. And I'd say it's more just a matter of like how you want to learn to make music because each software offers different tools, right? I think for me, because I started acoustic and I started with very basic elements, Logic is nice because it's like that kind of software where you could do a lot with just instruments that you already have. Whereas with FL Studio, there's such like FL Studio is such a like EDM like hip hop like those genres can do really well on that software. So it's really about like how you want to approach music, you know. I
Gotcha.
think that's more important. And then you decide like where you want to go from there. In terms of GarageBand and Logic, I think if you're like me and you're very just like you're very acoustic in this at the start, and that's the kind of music you want to make, I think GarageBand is a great software to start out with. And if you can master GarageBand, I think definitely going into Logic um, later on down the line would be good, just like how I did it. So yeah.
So I know this question, next question might be like a bit like you might not know the answer to, but like,
Mm-hmm.
do you see yourself making music like the most recent album, or like do you? Or, so I mean, as in like, is like producing going to be like
Mm-hmm.
replacement to like the acoustic sound that people know you for?
So as like an artist, I'm still trying to find my sound, right, and find my genre. And I'm not sure how important that actually is, which I'm also trying to figure out. But I think definitely my roots lie in very acoustic music. And while I was producing like my last EP, which is like more produced and stuff, the one with Text Me, um, I found it really fun for sure. I found it very, very fun to learn, very fun to make, and I wouldn't limit myself to like just acoustic for sure. Like I definitely want to play around more with that genre. Um and even like further too. I was thinking about some EDM stuff, but EDM stuff is a lot harder to do on Logic. That's just the thing.
Yeah.
But right now I'm very like vanilla, you know. I'm still trying to figure out like what I like really want to do. um and so I can't say for sure like where I'm gonna like settle, but
Yeah.
I am definitely gonna do more stuff like Text Me and that whole
Yeah.
EP.
I'm personally excited for that. So yeah, awesome. And what made you choose the guitar? Like out of curiosity, like to
Yeah,
start playing around.
start playing. So yeah, like I said, right, I started with the piano lessons when I was like maybe 7 8, and didn't work out, and I literally didn't play any instruments until I was in middle school, and I took like 1 year of like this band like class, and
Yeah.
I learned how to play clarinet. I learned how to play clarinet, dude. Like it's so random, but obviously that didn't go anywhere because after like that year of band, like I didn't do anything with clarinet, and so high school came, and I remember for I think my first birthday in high school, like in ninth grade, my parents bought me a guitar, and my initial like it's pretty funny, but my initial motivation to learn guitar was to impress this girl that I liked in middle school, and I I got the guitar for my birthday and I didn't touch it. I didn't touch it for years, dude. I didn't touch it for like 2 or 3 years. Um, and I don't know, like at some point I'm just trying to remember why I picked it up again, but I honestly don't remember. I just picked it up and I just started learning again, and I don't know. Like I think with guitar, there's just a thing, right? There's like a learning curve, but not even like a learning curve. Like there's like a pain curve. Like learning guitar hurts because like the whole callus thing on your fingers, it actually hurts so bad. And I think a lot of people get like dissuaded from learning because of that. But honestly, I'm pretty sure I probably picked it up to impress like another girl I started liking in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
And yeah, I mean, I think at one point of just like grinding through like learning guitar, like it just kind of clicked, and like I reached the point where oh, it's not that hard to learn guitar anymore. I think there's like a point where like you need to get over where like learning guitar further becomes a lot easier, because in the beginning it's so hard, just like getting the finger coordination, getting the pain like out of the way, like building calluses, like there's so much that goes into the initial like burst of learning guitar, and then once you pass that, like it becomes a lot more fun, and it just seems like learning guitar is actually more feasible than it seemed in the beginning. So basically TLDR, I experimented with two other instruments, didn't work out. The third one also didn't work out until 3 years later, and I just stuck with it because I was too lazy to learn other instruments.
Yeah.
Although I definitely want to try to learn piano someday because, I mean, only guitar. I think I would be happy if I knew how to play guitar and piano really well. I don't need to know any more than that. So
You've
that's my
used
goal.
piano in like some of your songs, right?
It's very, if you listen, it's really basic.
Okay.
It's very basic, and I didn't play those like live, right? Like I'd basically like draw in the notes
Yeah, with
pretty much.
MIDI or whatever, right?
Yeah, with MIDI, yeah. So yeah, I don't actually know how to play piano really. So
If you could explain MIDI, because I've thought about doing it right now, but I
uh
am probably not going to be able to explain it as well as you can. Could you explain that for us?
I mean, I okay. Well, I hope I make this clear, but it's pretty much like, okay. If I were to put it in the most simplest terms, MIDI is just a way for like all music notes to be digitalized, right? So like it's all instruments, right? Like piano, violin, clarinet, guitar. Everything you play on an instrument like has a note, right? And like you can play different notes at like different like multiple notes at a time. Um and those notes, right? They're like sounds. But to digitalize it, right? Like MIDI was made, and it's basically like a digital form of notes, and um, it's just a way to translate like what you hear on an instrument into like something on a computer. And ideally, and I think it does it depend on the software. Like the MIDI is supposed to translate like it's just because it's just weird because like different instruments have like different ways of producing sound, but it's just supposed to translate like the same like notes onto a computer.
Gotcha.
Um,
I
I
think that's
mean,
pretty.
is
Yeah,
it clear?
I think it explains it pretty well, right?
Yeah.
I've only. I mean, I've only like I produced like a
Uh-huh.
song or like a beat.
Oh, really?
I mean, a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So I guess you can call
Oh,
me
yeah.
like a pro now.
Oh, were you like doing the thing with like Yuki and
Eric. Yeah. Yeah.
Eric? Yeah. Okay, I see. Oh,
But
okay,
it
that's
was, it
pretty
was
cool.
just for fun. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I think it's not super complicated. It's just like I think the more complicated thing is like actually like using it, right? Because although MIDI is like super simple, it is still hard to use if you don't really know music, right? Like, because like you still have to put the notes in yourself. Like, if you don't know like what notes are supposed to go together, you like
Yeah.
you kind of have to like listen to it out. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You said you've only seriously started like making your own songs like a year ago, right? Or 2 years ago, is
Mm-hmm.
that right? So like, but you've made like a lot of songs, and I've like dug into like the lyrics of all of them, um, and like
Man,
they're
dude.
good, yo. Like also like,
Oh,
wait, can we talk about like the theme of like love and heartbreak that you
sure.
have on?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
And what like draws like the inspiration for that?
Yeah, well, as you can see, I'm very inspired by girls with all guitar stuff. I don't know. I think growing up, I was always like the kind of person that started liking a girl and like just liked her for a long time. And I think even though I started making or started writing music seriously a year ago, I've I've written songs in the past about like girls. That's pretty embarrassing, but yeah, I've definitely written songs in the past about girls. Not too many, but like I did.
Hmm.
And it probably like my genre, which is pretty much like love and heartbreak, stems from like that habit of like writing about like love and stuff. And I don't know, like I think the best way to put it is that people have different ways of dealing with their emotions, like dealing with love and dealing with heartbreak and all that. I think music has always been my way, whether it be writing songs or even just singing, you know. I think before I was even writing music, I loved going to karaoke with my friends. And music has just always been a way for me to really like vent my emotions, and naturally that just leads into me writing every song about love. But I don't know. It's just like the most like I personally believe if you're gonna make art, it should be something that you love to do, right? And you don't want to make it into a very like very job like career. Like you should just love what you're doing. And I've tried writing songs that aren't about love, and I would say some of them are successful, but it's just not like it didn't feel as satisfying to write those songs rather than like songs about love and heartbreak. So that's why I'm doing this genre. It just resonates with me the most, like out of any other genre. So
Got you.
yeah.
Do you speak on like the actual like lyric writing process, if you have any whatsoever, like what
Mm-hmm.
it's like to put down like pen to paper kind of, or
Sure. So this is like it's kind of like a weird topic because um I'm sure like everyone has different ways of writing songs. And so like I'm not whatever I say right now isn't like advice, rather more like an insight into like who I am as an artist and like how I do things. But basically when I write lyrics, it's kind of like one of the more important things to me when I'm writing songs um is rhyming, which sounds really bad at first, right? But like I don't know, I really like rhyming and I like finding creative ways to do it. And it's just to me it just feels really good when you get like two bars that like just hit super well together. And so that's a big part of it, right? Like a big
yeah,
part of songwriting for me is making lines that rhyme.
yeah,
But like it's more about like sounding good together. So that's a big part for me. And so in order to like fit that mold, like I really have to like find words that work well. And then it becomes harder because like you want to find words that aren't just like corny. You want to find words that aren't just like, oh, they rhyme but they don't make sense, right? Because a big part of it is also like lyrics that really mean something, right, to me.
yeah,
So um for that I honestly just dig back to like how I felt or how I feel about like my emotions I'm feeling like about like other things too, like in songs that I haven't written about love, it's really all coming like my lyrics are really all coming from just things I've experienced myself or things I've heard through other people's experiences, you know.
yeah,
It's all like all of the things that I've learned, you know. And so my songs like naturally just become like the story of my life pretty much. No matter how much it's about me or not, you know, like everything I put into my songs are things that like mean something to me or things that have some kind of importance in my life at some point or one another. So, yeah.
nice, yeah. Could you, I guess, like to kind of like, I don't know if I'm adding on to what you're saying, but could you
Mm-hmm.
say like your songs are kind of like lessons in a sense, like each song is kind of like somewhat of an experience or a piece of
Mm.
knowledge you've acquired, and you want,
Mm.
is that a good way of describing it too, or
It's see, lesson is weird because I wouldn't say people should listen to it and like take from it, right? But it's weird because I also do think of them as lessons for myself in a way. Because with every song I write, I think I with every song I've kind of like built my character, but also like reached like a different part of my life. Especially with every like big release, like an EP or an album. Even though I've only had one album, that was like a really like big album for like my life. I mean, like yeah, that was a big like when I released it, it was like I felt like a change. Like that sounds so dramatic. That sounds so dramatic, but I really felt like I was at a different stage in my life with that album. Is what I'm trying to say basically.
yeah, yeah,
And so it's more like rather than a lesson, it's more like like a landmark in like my story, I guess. Um,
Yeah,
I I would like to write more songs like that though. Either like things that people could be inspired by, because I at this point I'm pretty sure like all my songs are just me talking about like like just love, but like I want to release more songs that like that help people. And I don't know if any of my songs have, but like I want it to like help people in a more like obvious way. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
So like of all the work you put into like making songs, making music,
Hmm.
how much of it is like also dedicated to getting it out there, getting it heard, making sure like people are able to listen to your music?
Oh, so like how much like how do I do that? Is
Yeah,
the
kind of
question?
like what do you do to publicize
Right.
yourself, kind of?
So that's the biggest question of my life. Dude, like oh my god, I could talk about this for hours because I think I spent a lot of time like since I was still learning the software, right? I spent a lot of time just learning how to make music in general. I spent a lot of time learning the software and just like trying to figure out like how to make things that sound good. But I have paid like so little attention to like that other aspect of it, like my brand and like getting my music out to people because like no matter how good your music is, right? Like it's not gonna matter unless like people hear it.
Yeah,
And I really struggle with that. I think because I don't have any connections really. I've made a few because I've like actually started working on it more recently. Um, but it's hard for me. I think I don't exactly know where to go, but I know like what people do in general, and it's just like I'm trying to figure out ways to approach it. Like I know a big part of getting your music out to people is through playlisting, right? And
mm,
apparently it's not even as big now than it used to be, but it's really big in the fact that like if you get your songs onto playlists, right? And that means that like people are gonna listen to it and then listen to it more because it's like on a playlist and they're gonna be listening to that playlist at some point. And that's why like there is such like or at least there was like such a playlist meta, if that makes sense, for music and like trying to get onto like big playlists where a bunch of people are listening to it. Because like not only are a bunch of people listening to it, they're listening to it again and again. And that's really how like you or at least you would have like gotten like more people to listen is trying to get on playlists.
yeah,
How you get on playlists is hard. Because you basically need to reach out to people and like ask them like if they are down to put your song on a playlist. And sometimes that means like going through like marketing companies that will get your like songs to playlists. And that means money. And I don't have money because I suck and I need a part-time job. Like, oh shit. But yeah, I think a big part of it is like playlisting, but there's a lot more to it. Especially these days with like TikTok. TikTok is probably one of the number one ways to market your music right now, which is why I hopped on it like a month ago. So yeah, I started doing that recently, and it's really crazy because um, another part of it is Instagram, right? Like Instagram is where like a lot of people will go to like find you, right? And so you need to have like or I don't know if you need to, but I would say like Instagram is an important place to be like a landing spot for followers or people that are interested in music. And so I've been trying really hard to grow Instagram and really it didn't like it was going slowly, but like still like kind of like I'm not sure what I'm doing. But then once I got TikTok and like I started using it, it's like consistent growth of Instagram, which is crazy. Like I I I just didn't realize that like TikTok's algorithm and like how you can really blow up on TikTok is so important and it's so good. So I'm gonna be grinding on TikTok for a bit to try to get more publicity for my songs.
yeah.
Other than that, other than social media and playlisting, I wouldn't really know, honestly. But I'm trying to do more research into it and trying to find out and talk to more people about like what they would suggest and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think those are pretty big ones. Yeah.
So when you say like followers, are you looking for fans to be like, oh, cool, this is like who MJ Appanay is, or are you looking for like people from like labels or people like who are
Uh
on that side of the spectrum to be like, oh, this is MJ, let's see, like I want to talk to him kind of deal.
so I've been thinking about this, right? Like I think it's really hard to try to target like labels, producers. I think it's really hard because like if you want to do that, right, then you're going to be trying to contact them in some way. And if you don't have like the means or like the connections to, then like that's so difficult. But I think it makes more sense to me, and this is what I'm doing right now, to just try to publicize yourself to the world in general, like as a whole, and like just keep going at it, keep making good music, and keep like trying to like get more and more people to listen. Because then eventually someone that is a producer or someone that is like part of a record label or whatever is gonna like hear your music,
Yeah,
and maybe they won't like it, but then the next one will, And so I think it's more important to just be a musician rather than like be a networker. But I'm not 100% sure on
yeah. I guess
that.
like everyone has like their own approach to how they want to
Yeah,
be discovered,
yeah.
but
I think with TikTok too, since like you can get such a wide reach on TikTok, like I think you have really good chances of like having your music heard by someone who's interested in you through music. There's a girl actually. Her name is Lynn Lapid. And she blew up like that because like she made music and she posted on TikTok, and then one day like someone found it, like someone was interested in her, and she got signed at like a really big record label. I forgot which one, but it's the same one with Taylor Swift in it.
damn.
So yeah, it's very crazy. So I think that's the best way to just be really organic and like not try too hard to get the attention of like record labels and producers, and focus more on like
Your sound.
yourself, your music, and yeah. So
Gotcha.
mhm.
So like if we're talking about like the industry kind of at this point, what's like something like the biggest obstacle, like not like an internal one, like but in general with like the music process, the people you've met, or like the industry as a whole that you have, something you would want to see changed, kind of.
Hmm. I think I think for independent artists, very it's like you don't feel like you can get the attention, right, of of the music industry. Because if you want to like, okay, well that's not okay. All right, hold on. Let me let me organize my thoughts really quick.
Yeah, you're good.
Because um, I think you can do really well without like a record label, right? Or without like some kind of like company backing you. Like you can do really well just like on your own. And I'm not exactly sure how, but I know you can, because like it's all like about how you market yourself, right? And you don't need like other people to do that. Like you can do it yourself. It's just a lot harder, and you probably need to like fund yourself somehow, which I am not currently. But um, I think the biggest obstacle is probably just, well, if you're an independent artist and you don't have like money, I guess, because when you're making your own music, right? There's a big thing, like a big part of the process. Like you could be a songwriter, you could record your own music, but mixing and mastering of music is a very big thing for songs. And that's basically like the best way to put it is to turn your voice, your songs, and whatever you record into a good sounding song, right? Because you can't just like record guitar and your voice, plop it together, and then boom, it's a song, right? There's a
Yeah,
lot more that goes into it. And that's actually what I've been struggling to learn the most, is like how to make songs that sound like they compete like in the music industry.
Yeah.
And as someone that doesn't have money, I can't really pay for other people to do that, right? Which a lot of people do. A lot of independent artists do that. They get the songs mixed and mastered, and I just can't afford it. Um, Even if I could though, like I do enjoy the mixing and mastering process, so I am trying to get better at it just for myself too. But yeah, I think that's a very big obstacle. Like having your music to be at a point where if it's on a playlist already with a bunch of other like really good songs, like it stands out or it's at least up there with like the rest. Like terms of quality, it's like up
Yeah.
there with the rest of
Yeah.
them. That's very big, and it's very hard. At least for me, like I'm struggling with that. But
So there are standard services where people like can mix and master your songs for you.
yeah, there's a bunch actually. There's so many because at the end of the day, like mixing and mastering is more like a client. Uh, oh, sorry, is that loud?
No, it's chill. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mixing and mastering is like a very like client type service where like you're gonna like find someone or like yeah, like basically contact someone and ask them or like pay them to do it for you. And that means you also have to find like someone that's good, right? Someone that like has a good background in it, and you know that they'll probably like or like they're also even in your genre because like there are mixers and masters that specialize in different genres too. And
Mm.
so there's a lot to do with that. It just costs like quite a bit, and even at the cheapest rates, like I was talking to someone recently, and they're like, "Oh, dude, for sure. Like, if you want to get your stuff mixed at a cheaper rate, I know a guy that's doing like $250." I'm like, "Oh, cheaper rate, huh? I see."
Yeah. Yeah. But at
So
least you're learning on your own now. So that'd be
yeah,
you
and
know.
it's fun. It's fun to do that too. I honestly find like that process to be really interesting and something I definitely would love to get better at because on the other side, right, there are artists like me, like more established artists that produce, mix and master their songs completely and like they're like pretty successful in that regard too.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great to get to that point actually. Like I wouldn't mind mixing and mastering my songs for a long time. Um, it's just if anything, it's a little bit like inefficient if you're trying to be an artist because what you want to do is like if you're trying to be an artist, like an independent artist, what you want to do is focus more on writing music, writing good songs, and like getting music out there. And if you're spending a lot more time on like the mixing and mastering part rather than like the writing part, then it's just kind of gonna be really slow, you know.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that's why I'm a little slow in that regard for like releasing songs, but I am trying. Um, so
It's awesome.
yeah.
So I guess like for people who are, you know, starting to make music, I keep doing this. I just want to extract as much knowledge
Oh
out of
yeah, it's
it.
cool. It's cool. It's
But
cool.
so like I've noticed that you've decided to produce your own songs. You obviously write your own songs, and now you're starting to mix. Like, um, would you say like that's probably like quote unquote the best approach when or like where do you draw the line between asking someone to do certain things for you or working with other people in the music creation process?
I honestly think the best approach would actually be to like get yourself a job and like get other people to mix and master for you. I think the producing part though. Okay, in terms or like so like to clarify like these terms more, like so when I say producing, I'm going to mean like just like putting the sounds that you want together and
Yeah.
like whether it's like guitar or like some weird synth or something like that. I'm gonna say that as producing. Mixing is like the part where like you make everything sound cohesive and like ready for mastering, and then mastering is where like they just take it one step further into like a good sounding song that you could put on Spotify. Okay,
Yeah.
so basically end game of like the music process. So yeah, in terms of that mixing and mastering, I definitely think like independent artists need to be like finding some way to fund that, um, so they could just purely focus on like writing music and like just like focus on like their music, you know, instead of because the mixing and mastering thing can be very technical and it can be very like even even if artistically you want it to sound a certain way, it just won't like own up or not own up. It just won't stand like at the same place with like more studio level like music. So
Got you.
it's much better to do it that way. but I mean, if you like that stuff, then like who cares, right? If you like mixing and mastering, then you should do it because it is fun in my opinion. It's fun, but it's just not the most efficient approach.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I think I'm just wondering if there's anything else because like let's say you're like even like less experienced, right? Like you don't have any music background, you don't even write music, and then you want to like start being like an artist. Like I'm not sure what I would say about that if we were going that far
Yeah,
into like um but I'd say if anything, you should be listening to a lot of music and like listening to how or like listening to like music that you like and trying to see like how other people write songs. I think there's a lot of like videos on YouTube that are like how to write music and like I was talking about earlier, like how to produce it. I
yeah,
just feel like that's not the way to approach art, you know? Like I think the way to approach art, especially making music, is to find what you like first and like do what you like first before like trying to look for tutorials or anything because it's like I'd say the motivation for continuing to do music comes from liking it in the first place, right? And so you have to like actually like it in order
yeah.
for you to make, or in my opinion, you have to like it in order for you to make things that you will like. So yeah,
That's
listening to music and like thinking about what you like in music and why you want to make music, I think that's most important. Yeah.
so okay, cool. So on the other side, like what has so you said you make music obviously because you like it, and like
Mm-hmm.
what's been the social aspect of making music, like working with other artists? Like I know you have a song with Aaron Park. Like what was it
Mm-hmm.
like collaborating with other artists in that regard?
So okay, so it's hard, I think, but I think that's just me. But I always feel like my style of music clashes with other artists. With Erin, see, she was just singing with me, right? So she didn't like write anything, but our voice, like I really liked her voice, and I wanted her to sing with me, and so there wasn't like much to do there. But then when me and her tried writing a song together, it took a really long time. Like I actually released it, and I'll explain in a bit. But when I was like trying to write the song with her, I realized like, oh man, I have a really big problem, and it's just that I am very like I'm caught up in my way of writing music, which is already like pretty slow to begin with, and I need to like really have more of an open mind when it comes to collabing with people. Um, but yeah, like we ended up writing a song together, that, and I released half of it. It's called Tomorrow, which was on my album from February, Forever. So yeah, that was a song that we wrote together. I also released another collab. Okay, so the second collab I ever did was something I didn't put on Spotify, but it's called Alarms, and it's on my YouTube channel, which is also at MJ Apane. But yeah, I collabed with this girl named Amari Hill, and it was actually for like this songwriting program that we were both in. Actually, Emily was also in it, and
Yeah,
Eric too, I think. But yeah, we were basically for like 4 weeks or something. We were paired with people to collab with, and it was supposed to like help us learn how to collab with people. Unfortunately, Amari was the only, or Amari's the girl I worked with on Alarms, right? And she was the only person I was able to collab with. But with her, it was just it went really well, but it's because the experience was different. She isn't a songwriter. She does like film scoring, right? And so what I realized was when I put my like songwriting plus her like instrumentation together, it was really easy that way. When like I could just focus on like what I know and she can focus on what she knows and then do it that way. And when it's like songwriting, like two songwriters together, that's where I really struggle.
Okay.
because like yeah, I guess like I'm really particular with lyrics. That's why, and so um, it's just hard for me to collab in that sense. But yeah, I just realized that like when I put my strengths and her strengths together, like it went really smoothly and well, and I really liked the song that we made at the end of it. So I don't know if that means I should be taking the collab process differently or approaching it differently, or if that means like I need to improve more on like being more open minded in terms of songwriting. But I did like collab with, or I'm starting to collab with more people these days, and it's fun. It's really fun. I just need to get better at it. I
Yeah.
just need to be more open minded and like need to accept like what others have to offer to the table more, and I think that'll help me grow as an artist a lot faster as well. So
It's awesome. And are these artists that you're planning on collaborating with
mhm.
within like the LA area, or it's just like all over?
There's one guy that I'm collabing with, and he's from Seattle, dude. And this other guy, I don't know where he's based from,
Actually, yeah.
but I think that's less important because like even like nowadays, like you wouldn't really be like collabing in person. Everything's gonna be like digitally anyway. I think more important is like communicating like properly and clearly, and so and that's also something that I need to work on. Maybe that's why I suck at collabing in songwriting terms, because I can't. It's hard for me to really express myself sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely something I need to work on. But yeah, it's just wherever, you know, like if someone wants to collab with me, like they'll hit me up. If I want to collab with someone, I'll hit them up. And distance doesn't matter as long as you're making music together and you're having fun. I think that's the most important part.
So yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So like what's your goal? Like maybe 3 year goal from now? Like
3 year goal.
yeah.
Okay, so I okay, I definitely need to find a part-time job, right? But because of that, I am hoping by the end of a year, so like next winter, right? I'm hoping that with a part-time job and whatever income I'm making from music, I have enough to like move out of my parents' house and like get an apartment,
Mm,
because I do feel like some of like my creativity slash music making process is not hindered, but it's just it's kind of like as someone as someone that's a creative, right? Where you work and like the environment you are is very big. And if you're in the same place for too long, I think it does kind of like put your perspective in sort of a box, and you really want to like venture outside of that, you know. So that's why I really want to move out by a year, and so I'm
yeah.
going to work really hard towards that. Even if I'm not making that much from music, that just means I have to make a lot from my jobs. So but hopefully it's more of like a half and half between music and part-time job, right? So
Yeah.
that's my year long goal. In terms of 3 years, that's a little far for me, but I'm hoping sometime around that mark, um, music will be a little more self sufficient. And music will be something that, even if I'm living off of like minimum wage, like the equivalent of minimum wage in music, like if I could reach that, that would be amazing in my opinion. Because that is hard. It's hard to make minimum wage through music, especially if you're only like doing it through like streams, which is like when someone listens to a song,
Yeah.
like that makes like 0.0003, something like that, 0.03 cents or something. So it's hard to really make a living off of music. um but that's why if I could get there, like I could just make the bare minimum to survive off of my own music, that would be crazy. Like that would actually be crazy for me. And obviously I'm trying to strive for more, but I would be so happy if I could even get to that, you know.
Yeah.
That's like a really big goal, and I think 3-4 years from now I hope that is a reality. But
That's
I
awesome.
definitely need to grind for
No,
that.
I think that's a really cool goal, and it's like also shows kind of like how humble you are. Like that's great. Like the fact that you want to just be self sufficient with music.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I think that is already a very big achievement for an artist to be able to live off their music, you know, because that's kind of like, you know, they always say like the starving artist, or like, oh man, it's so hard to like become an artist and stuff, because just because like you don't make that much money, and um it's just a rough life to try to live. So if you can make it to even that point, I'd say like, I honestly, I think I would cry. Like if I was actually making enough to like just live off it, I would actually cry, because that's such, if you really think about it, that's so crazy. Like to live off your passion.
Yeah,
So yeah. So
yeah.
we'll see. Yeah.
And I guess like if you have like, I guess we can end this by just talking about like if you have like
Sure.
like any tips just to people who are thinking about like whether they want to be an artist but don't want to stray away from like the standard path, like um what advice do you have for them?
Standard path meaning
Just
like,
like
I
more
don't know.
more traditional career paths, as in, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thing with music, right? I think you should definitely not go into it unless you really love it, right? Because you could think of music as just another career, like another way to like make money and like live your life, right? But when it comes to art, particularly, I just don't recommend going into it at all if you don't already love it, right? Because at some point it's just gonna not work out. Like you're gonna be, even if you are technically successful in like the the scene, you're just gonna burn out super fast. And like I've heard so many stories of people like that where they just like, they think that okay, they want to be famous, so they're gonna go the music route, they're gonna choose that route to be like to make it, and like they kind of make it, and then they get bored because they just don't love music. And so that's not the way to do it, you know. Like I
Yeah.
think you should definitely only do music if you love it. And if that's the case, right? If that's the case, if you love music, then things will pretty much play out like from there, because you're going to be working towards a goal that you love, and you're going to be doing whatever it takes to like get that goal, you know. Um as an independent artist, probably like, or not probably, there's so many resources out there for you to just like choose from already. I mean, it's going to take time, but you just have to grind at it, you know. It's a grinding game, honestly, like
Yeah.
if you're independent. And there are so many different routes you can take too. Like you could take the blow up route, you could take the well, actually, but I think every music every artist should be trying to blow up on TikTok right now. But yeah, there's just so much you can do as an independent artist that's also free, and you just have to like just keep going at it. I think it's gonna be really tough for a while, and you just have to, you know, just keep going. I think if any like particular tips I have, definitely reach out to other musicians early and like get help from them early, or get not even just help, but like get their story and like how they did it as well. I'm not sure if my story was like the best thing to really take any advice from, but if anything, like I hope it shows like how much like I love making music, and like even if I'm not gonna be the most successful artist, like I'm still gonna strive to be like the best musician I can. I think hopefully that shows in this interview. Um, yeah, so like talking to other artists, like getting to know their stories, getting to know like their path. Also, even though I kind of like bagged on YouTube earlier for being like kind of just too much like too there's just too much information on there to handle, it's definitely still going to be your best friend, like in terms of like learning how to make music, like on Logic or whatever. You just have to make sure that you're still um like the whole thing with like Yuki and like that like kind of like thing, just make sure that you're trying to learn the right things and like one step at a time, like don't rush into it, just try to learn like one thing at a time so that you could really like get to know the music making process well, and just have fun with it, you know. If you decide that you don't love it, like, you know, you shouldn't continue. But if you really do love it, even if it's hard, you should just keep going, because I think it's more important to just continue doing what you love instead. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I just want to say, yeah, thanks for your time, man. It was
yeah,
really
no problem.
cool getting to
I
ask
think
you a bunch of questions.
most artists like talking about themselves, so I don't think it's not. It's pretty. It was a nice experience for me too. So.
Yeah.